won one race. In fact, everybody has only won one race as far as the winners go. It just goes to show you how important consistency is, because with only one race to his name, with Fabian leading the championship on one win, that's a testament to what you need to get up there in the points.
Yeah, and he was doing very well, keeping consistent. Definitely, he had all those tops fives, and it was really we were surprised last race when he that we found out that was actually his first win. We thought he'd gone one prior, but since he'd been leading the championship, but that was only his first win last weekend. So it just shows how consistency really pays off, and he's definitely been the most consistent of all drivers. And he hasn't been just the only one to get all top fives, but he's also been the only one to get all top tens as well.
Incredible stuff. Now, with them racing at Richmond, it might be a slightly more difficult for him to keep that up, because it's a little bit more rough and tumble. We've got a bit of a bull ring here, Ayrton. And I imagine it's going to be very tight confines. I mean, it's an Easter weekend, so we don't have as many drivers quite as we're used to. But I'm pretty sure that it's going to be very tight confines around here with 20 plus guys.
Yeah, and besides this track, Darlington's the only other really short track that we've seen, and we saw quite a few cautions in that race. So, especially with the tight racing between these guys, hopefully we don't see too many cautions, but I feel like they're going to happen pretty easily. But you're right, with the smaller field because of Easter weekend, we might get a little fewer less ones.
And speaking of this track, a few of the areas that you need to watch out for. That turn two comes up very quickly, very tight confines, like we mentioned, and the turns really tighten towards that backstretch. So you've got a decreasing radius, or I'm sorry, an increasing radius on entry of the lap, and then a decreasing radius on the exit of the lap. So two very different corners that they've got to deal with.
Yeah, and that should create some interesting action. Definitely, that wall on that exit two really sneaks up on you, and I won't be surprised if we see some guys hitting that wall, and probably going to affect their race because we do have a couple fast toes for these guys, so they will have a chance to catch back up if they make a few mistakes. But with those walls so close and it being such a small track, we might see quite a few fast toes being used up today.
And just a reminder for those not familiar with iRacing or the Piston Cup, when we talk about fast tow, these guys basically have essentially a spare car waiting for them if they damage their car too much to go on. Or honestly, the other part of it is if they damage their car at all, iRacing automatically gives them their spare car next time they pit. So some of these guys will need to be just a little bit careful about making contact and getting a little bit of damage that could waste their spare car when they don't want it. And speaking of spare cars, we mentioned that the tight confines of that turn two exit. The walls are also very close on the inside of the track there, so it kind of bottlenecks up. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see maybe if an accident unfolds there, if we get a big pileup from guys just having plain no place to go.
Yeah, and we saw in some of our previous races there were quite a few accidents that only involved one or two cars spinning on their own, and then just from all the smoke and chaos at Charlotte last weekend, everyone just piled into each other. There's no way to see where anyone was going, so that is definitely going to be a problem here if we have quite a few accidents, because just two or three cars can block up the whole track.
We're currently sitting on board with Jeroen Ursum, who has finished his qualifying. I guess he's just doing a few reconnaissance laps or something around here. As we see that pink Barbie car make its way around and just really get a sense of how tight things are. I mean, it's a fairly wide track, actually, but especially for such a short track, but there's still not much place to go around there. As he continues around, we've got 25 guys who've put in qualifying laps, so it looks like we've got a quarter of 100 here that are going to be making their way around for this roughly 2 to 3 hours of racing that we've got here today. So, as we wait for qualifying to wrap up, they still got about 2.5 minutes left to go in that, in case any guys have not put their qualifying in. Let's just go through that real quick before that's done, because all these guys who have their times up have put their in. Rudy DeVitt is sitting on top on pole. Maxim Ramstein is sitting in second, or actually not even only, 2 tenths behind. That's a fairly big gap for such a short track. Roy Visser is sitting in third, bringing up the start of the second row. Pascal Dugers is in fourth. Dennis Garrison is sitting in fifth. Fabian de Jong is sixth. Koen Gerards is sitting in seventh. Jarno Panikiet is eighth. Tim Wyan is in ninth. And then Steven Van Helsdingen is in 10th.
Then in 11th, we got Neil Heckens, our second place championship runner up. 12th is Bob Van Katwijk. 13th, Joey Schmidt, a previous winner. Mark Figueres is in 14th. Denny Rates in 15th. Kim Van Stickelin in 16th. Nick Thyssen in 17th. Thyman Nabbers in 18th. Robert DeRoy in 19th. And then in 20th is Richard Cortland.
Then in 21st, it's Jeroen Ursum. Then Nano van der Poel in 22nd. Jos van Hoorn is in 23rd. Johan Summers is in 24th. And Hank Aaron in 25th. That rounds out everybody who's put in a time. You can see Guy Schlackmullers in 26th there did not put in a time. Not sure if he's going to be starting today or not. However, he did hop into practice, and obviously he has been counted for qualifying just without a lap. So, who is your call today, Ayrton? Who have you got your eye on as a good opportunity to get themselves a win?
I think I can't bet on anyone else but Rudy de Wit. I think I can compare Rudy de Wit similar to Jan Koeman from our GVL series that we cover in the MX5. He just seems like the fastest guy, but there's still like a lot of competition. A lot of other guys are very consistent, but I think Rudy de Wit's definitely one of the fastest, as shown in qualifying already.
So we'll have to watch out for him, Mr. Speedy, around here and around other tracks. But this will definitely be a very different challenge for these guys, having yet to come to this track for this series. And it's worth noting that this is a European-based series, so all these guys that you're seeing driving are not your typical backcountry Southerners from the States. This is all a bunch of very experienced iRacers coming from quite a variety of disciplines, I have to say. So, but at least a number of them do have some oval experience. So this isn't a bunch of newbies out there. These guys have proven themselves. Now we're getting ready to grid up as qualifying has now run out of time. So we are going to do a pace lap or two around here, and then we're going to kick this thing off, Ayrton.
Yeah, I'm quite interested in some of the drivers. Some of these guys have qualified a little farther back than I expected. Neil Heckens, for example, is all the way down in 11th place, and he's second place in our championship at the moment.
Yeah, so he's going to have some work to do, and that just goes back to what we were talking about earlier about the consistency being so important for these guys, and it's going to be a little bit tougher to try and get up there with the track being so short, and probably traffic going to be so much more of an issue for these guys. Waiting for the pace car to take them around, as you can see them getting the cars ready there on the grid, waiting to take off. So, as we get ready for this race, 177 laps. What are you expecting for pit stops today for these cars? I mean, what is how long can these guys go on a stint, Ayrton?
Well, I think these guys will probably be able to go about 30 minutes on each stint. Obviously, this track is a little different than some of the other tracks that they've been racing on, and a lot higher speeds on the previous track, so they might be able to save quite a bit of fuel, and fuel strategy might play a big part because some drivers, their driving style might save a bit more fuel than others, so that might come into play.
Something we'll have to watch and see, and I think we should be getting the pace car taking off soon here. The other question that is, with this being, not a lot of banking around here, how is that going to play on the tires? I mean, do you think it's going to wear out pretty quickly, or is tire conservation over a stint going to come into play, or possibly who is able to pit last, have the freshest ones? I mean, are they a factor?
I think if we see a lot of battling, we'll see tires come into play. I don't think the inside line really affects tires that much, but if you have a lot of guys running on the outside line battling with side by side with people, that's probably going to affect their tires quite a bit because they're running a lot harder on the outside line, so that might come into play.
And pace car has taken off coming around. I'm not sure if they're going to be doing 2 pace laps here or 1. We'll get to find out in just a second. It looks like we are doing 2 pace laps. So one more time around behind the pace car, and then Rudy and Maxim can take off and see where this thing will play. Hopefully we'll get a clean start and get this thing going green for quite a while. Don't want to see a wreck fest around here. As you said, the guys in the past have gotten just in a little bit of trouble, so I imagine patience is going to be one of the key factors.
Yeah, and just know that Maxim Reinstein, he didn't show up that much, and like he did show up, but he wasn't near the top in the first few races of the series. But then last week at Charlotte, he was really top front runner, even though he started at about 12th place or so. So he's really showing himself now that he's starting in second place. Hopefully, he can bring it to Rudy DeVitt this race.
Perhaps something is finally clicking for that number 3 car of Maxim Ramstein. Pace car is getting ready to duck in this time. There he goes. Rudy is leading them up to the green, waiting for that flag to wave. There he goes, gets a very good start. In fact, just behind him, it looks like Roy Visser has a great start too and is already on the inside of Maxim.
Maxim Reinstein goes really hard into the corner, trying to defend that outside. Looks like he does have a head. He's going to defend that second place position. Roy Visser backs off a little bit, so now they've already shot into single file.
Yes, everybody's, as you said, oh, we've got a 3-wide situation, and we have a spin. That is Tim Wyan, who holds onto it just barely and keeps it going. Everybody's still going clean. So excellent driving from Tim, but that has cost him a lot of spots.
Yeah, he's going to drop down to about 17th or 18th place. He's still battling with Simon Nabbers at the moment side by side. But yeah, very close moment for him. He got a little bit too much on the apron in turns 3 and 4, which caused him to get quite loose, but very good save.
Already with it, that was a 3-wide situation, I think, there that kicked it off. I'm not sure who that all was involved in that, but that's probably what forced him to go that low. Now, is that low line with that apron? Is it going to be tripping a lot of guys up? Do they really need to stay away from that one?
Definitely the apron will unsettle your car, but as long as you don't touch that apron, mostly the inside line is where you want to be. The outside line is very difficult to hold on to, especially once your tires get worn out.
Well, let's hop back to Dennis Garrison and Fabian de Jong, especially Fabian being our championship leader right now, because these two are in a good battle as Dennis gets right up on the back of that 24 car, looking for a way around, and it looks like he's not going to have one. Oh, but he goes wide, and this is allowing opportunity from Jarno Panikit, who has to back out, unfortunately. Took a little bit of a peek in there, and now Jarno is under threat from Kuhn.
Yeah, and these guys, they're all really high up in the championship at the moment. Dennis Garrison's in that tiebreaker for fourth as he starts to go on the inside of Fabian Dijon. Looks like he's going to be able to get this corner. Jarno Panicki also looks to get a nose in on the inside of Fabian Dijon. That's quite a trend that happens on these short tracks. If you get stuck on the outside by someone, you normally lose more than just one position.
So obviously you got to really fight hard to defend there. And just look at him dropping. Now going to lose a third position potentially here as Fabian is being passed by Kuhn Gerards.
It looks like he's going to get that position now. And now even Steven Van Helston is shooting to the inside. So these guys, they don't want to be knocked up into the outside line. And I'm now looking back up the leaders. It looks like Maxim Reinstein made a pass on Rudy DeVitt for that first place position.
Already we've got a lead change, 8 laps in, and it looks like Maxim is starting to stamp himself as an authority in this series now that he's gotten a handle on this car. Rudy with trying to make up some of these points and up these bad finishes. Do you think he's going to push to try and get that lead back, or do you think he's going to just try and start collecting some points and settle for something like a second place or a top 5?
As I've seen so far in this series, I think Rudy DeVitt, he's going to play it safe for the first part of the race, and then he normally starts pushing harder later into the race as we got a maneuver for that third place position. Roy Visser and Pascal Dukers are going side by side.
Pascal in the inside in that on the inside of the black and red car of Roy Visser, as that orange car is now looking like he's almost got it, not quite past. Now he's got it. Oh, and a bobble from Roy Visser just keeps it out of the wall, but now he's under threat from Dennis Garrison, who is just working his way up this field, but he's on the outside, so now he's going to possibly lose a position to Jarno Panicki.
And Dennis Garrison and Roy Visser, they're two of the few teammates in this series, so they'll probably be looking to work together. They share setups and work pretty well together, and as we've seen from previous races so far.
But Jarno, that was an excellent move. He took 2 spots in one corner, saw those guys check up and battle, and just slipped up the inside of both of them. And that is going to move Jarno up into 8th position.
Meanwhile,
I'm sorry, the 4th position. Sorry about that.
Yeah, looking at Maxim Reinstein, looks like he's already created a gap ahead of Rudy DeVitt. It's about half a second already, and those guys also have about 1.5 second lead over Pascal Dukas in third, so they're starting to pull away already.
How crucial is a gap like that around a short track like this, Ayrton? I mean, are these guys going to really want to start to pull away, or are they going to want to? Are they going to be comfortable with someone right on their bumper and holding close?
I don't think having someone on your bumper affects you as much on a short track as it does on a faster, larger track. Because on the faster, larger tracks, you're running at much higher speeds, and any difference in aerodynamics from the car behind can really affect your run through the corner. On the short tracks, it's more about braking, and it's more like a road course, to be honest, where you just focus on your braking markers.
Well, let's hop back a little bit through the field since that battle doesn't seem to be going on for the lead right now. Right now I'm looking at this pack from 8th up into 5th between Roy Visser, Koen Gerards, Dennis Garrison, and Fabian de Jong all together in a little pack. And right now it looks like Koen is trying to find a way to get around Roy Visser, but could not get a run. And now it looks like Dennis Garrison was taking just a little bit of look into one, but nothing doing right there. But these four are incredibly close right now. So and I was going to say Dennis Garrison just kind of holding station, but once again trying to get a run, and he got a little bit of a bobble. It looks like he's trying to get up to the inside of Gerards there, as he's taken just a little bit of a lower line, and this time it works for him, as I think Gerards might have gotten into the wall.
Yeah, Gerards has been running quite a high line on in the previous corners. Looked like he might already be struggling a little bit with his tires, going in a little too hard and sliding up. So that might be causing him some troubles, as he's now under threat from Fabian de Jong.
De Jong takes a little bit of a look into 1 and 2, but decides to back out of it. Let's see if there's a high line yet again for Gerards. Just slides it up the field. Oh, and we've got a caution. I didn't see exactly what happened. Ayrton, have you seen?
Let me go and check.
While Ayrton tries to see what exactly caused that caution, let's go through our, and it looks like I see Jos van Hoorn's got some marks on his car, and he is going slow, so possibly was him?
Yep, just found it. Nano Vanderpool and Jos van Hoorn, they had contact going into turn 1. Both of them went up and hit the wall. Jos van Hoorn actually went flipping, and then Vanderpool is still driving on the track, but has severe damage.
We're getting the replay up now. I have to apologize if I'm not completely accurate. We're watching it. I've got some problems here with my feed. And yeah, going too wide through there. And I'm trying to see what exactly happened. Now heading down the front stretch, and it looks like Nano switched down to the inside and just tipped him. And up and onto his lid goes Jos. So Van Hoorn obviously taking a fair bit of damage. But now we've got a lot of cars heading down into the pit lane.
And this is what we saw from the previous races. The interesting part about the series is that all the drivers, they seem to take much different pit strategies. We saw that Maxim Reinstein, our leader right before, has gone into pits, but Rudy DeVitt decided to stay out. And also some top runners such as Pascal Dukers and Koen Gerards and Dennis Garrison as well. So interesting, though, that Dennis Garrison and Roy Visser are on different pit strategies. Normally they're running the same pit strategy for most of the races.
So obviously these guys are running a bit of an alternate strategy and not just running it out of fuel, because we are definitely not up to the 30-minute mark that you had mentioned earlier, only 20 laps in. Rudy DeVitt did stay out, so did Jarno Panikiet, Roy Visser, Fabian de Jong, and Neil Hekken's top 5 currently out there. Rudy DeVitt, interestingly, staying out after he was in second. Where exactly did his competitor, I'm trying to remember who that was that was challenging him earlier. Yes, thank you. Ramstein, where did he come out, actually?
Came out right about in 9th place.
So I believe he should have gotten out first out of all the drivers. I'm going to go check on that and see if he was the first out of the pit stops, since he was first in.
Actually,
it looks
Pascal
like no.
Dukers. Pascal Dukers beat him out of the pits.
Correct. So Pascal Dukers has been able to jump him and possibly move himself into a very good position here. Now, I believe we should be going green pretty soon. I'm trying to see if the lights are off. Yes, it looks like the lights are off, so we're going to be green this time. Bye, Ayrton.
Yeah, it looks like only actually the top 8 cars or so were the ones that stayed out. Behind them, most people actually decided to come in and pit.
So critical strategy differences going on that we'll have to watch and see how they play out. 22 laps into this 177 lap race with about 20 seconds per lap. They are going to tick down very quick. Speaking of ticking down, there goes the pace car in, and Rudy is leading them off to the green with Jarno Panikeet getting a very bad start. Roy Visser is on the inside of him already, but he's not able to hold on as Jarno takes it deep into 1 and 2.
And their side-by-side action a little farther back. Dennis Garrison almost had contact with Nano Vanderpool going into turn 1. There's also a car on the outside who's running very slow. That's Joey Schmid. He must have had a little bit of contact in 3 and 4.
And we had some 3 wide behind him as well. And now Joey's losing a position to Koen Gerards as they're still trying to find position. And Joey is just going backwards in a hurry as he's lost at least 5 positions.
Nano Vanderpool also just hit the wall. He caused a huge checkup, caused Mark Figueres to really check up, lose a lot of positions. He's just riding the wall at the moment. He's going to have to come to pits pretty soon because that's going to be a lot of damage.
Oh, yeah, just look at that car. That is definitely not in good shape. So he is going to lose a lot because the caution did not come out for that. Unfortunately, he's going to have to actually hope that these guys don't catch him before he gets to the pits.
At the moment, Rudy DeVitt already has a half a second lead over Jarno Panikeet, our Darlington winner earlier this season.
Jarno leading that next pack, though, with Roy Visser behind him. And actually, we've got a battle here for 4th and 5th. Neil Heckens being passed on the inside by Pascal Dukers, the guy who's already made his pit stop. I'm wondering if those fresh tires are starting to come good for him.
Yeah, meanwhile, Ramstein actually has not been on the move as well as Pascal Dukers has been. Pascal Dukers is already up to that 5th place position, and he's the front runners of those guys who did pit, so he's doing really well at the moment, and not too far off the guys who did not pit, so he's looking good for Pascal Dukers at the moment.
I find it interesting that Maxim isn't able to make ground as quickly as Pascal had because they both should have fresh tires as far as I know. And now he's starting to make a move on the inside of Neil Heckens. He's got a nose in, and it looks like he's going to be able to get the job done.
I'm not sure if any of these drivers would have taken tires in that pit stop because that probably would have lost them more positions. They might have just been topping up on fuel. I can go check though.
While Ayrton is checking that, I think there was just a slight bit of contact between Ramstein and Neil Heckens. Neil is also dropping back as Dennis Garrison has snuck on the inside of him and is moving himself up into the 9th spot. So, I'm sorry, the 8th spot actually. He has moved up a couple positions. So Dennis Garrison obviously on a charge. But ahead of it all, Rudy DeVitt already up to 0.6, so just getting a little bit, a 10th here and a 10th there, but really pulling away from Jarno Panikeet.
So these guys actually did take tires, so that just shows how difficult it is to pass on this track. You really need a strong run, as we're now seeing Dennis Garrison on the inside of Fabian DeJohn. Fabian DeJohn is going a lot slower in these past couple laps. He's already lost about 3 or 4 positions.
And he's slipping back further as now Koen Gerards has gotten past him as well. So Koen Gerards moving himself up into 8th position. Dennis Garrison up into 7th. Dennis is still just climbing and climbing. He's got a very hooked up car right now.
Meanwhile, Maxim Reinstein now making a move on Roy Visser. So now him and Pascal Dukers are going to move up to 3rd and 4th, right behind Jarno Panikeet in 2nd. Rudy DeVitt still has about 0.8 second lead ahead of Jarno Panikeet in that 2nd place position.
So Ramstein's finally got his car together. I guess he was just playing a little bit patient. I mean, we are very early, only 33 laps in. And look at Pascal Dukers going for 2nd place already as he's trying on the inside of Jarno Panikeet. I really think these fresh tires are making a huge difference out on these tracks as these guys on the old tires are just going backwards.
Yeah, now Pascal Dukers is ahead in that 2nd place position. Ramstein going to follow him through. He's on the inside of Jarno Panikeet, probably going to make the position. Now, let's see if they can actually hunt down Rudy DeVitt, who already has about over a 2nd lead ahead of these guys. It's going to be a difficult task, but they do have fresher tires.
Absolutely, and critically, Pascal Dukers has a clear track ahead of him to try and make it happen. That's if he can hold Ramstein back. Ramstein was taking a little bit of a look through 1 and 2, but decided not to. I'm thinking at this point, these guys will need to work together instead of fighting to try and run down Rudy.
Yeah, it would just be smart if Max and Reinstein just sits behind, because if they can work together at the moment and try to catch up to Rudy DeVitt as they're already closed in 1/10 in that previous lap, which doesn't seem like much, but it's actually quite a lot on such a short track like this.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, with only 20 seconds for a lap, it is a huge difference for these guys. So Rudy is actually being reeled in by Pascal, who took, I think, 2/10 out of him that lap.
Yeah, these guys are really charging at the moment, and they're also bringing along with them some of the other guys, Tim Wine, Dennis Garrison, Kuhn Gerard, who actually just passed Jarno Paniki for that 5th position. So these guys are all trailing behind. Rudy DeVitt's slowing down a little bit, letting these guys catch up.
We've got a yellow flag, actually. I'm not exactly sure what happened. I saw Jos van Horn on the radio once again. I'm not sure if that involves him once more.
I'll go check.
While Ayrton is seeing what exactly happened, I'm wondering if once we figure that out, we can maybe try and pull a replay up. Here we've got a replay. Let's see what happened here. We're looking at Jos van Horn. Is this involving him yet again? He was slow on the inside. Yeah, looks like he just smacked the wall. And, oh, who is that he ran into, though?
Jon Somers, I believe.
Poor Jon, I think he was pretty innocent of that, and Jon absolutely got tossed around there. So he was yet again on his lid. With this being a short track, I didn't expect we'd be getting multiple rollovers by this point.
Yeah, so now Jon Somers, he's going to have to use his fast tow. He's going to have to wait for the tow truck as well to pull him back into pits. Now we've got some more pitters now. Interesting enough, Pascal Duger and Maxim Reinstein are going to pit once again, and then for a second time, Rudy DeVitt is doing his first pit stop, but then there's Dennis Garrison and Jarno Paniki. Dennis Garrison has already done a pit stop last caution, but Jarno Paniki still hasn't gone into pits.
Rudy was the first one in. Is he going to be the first one out? Let's watch and see, as it looks like everybody is taking tires. Yes, and it looks like Rudy's the first one out. Who's going to be out next as that was Pascal Dukers, who was in a drag race with a couple guys. Ramstein is the third one out, and he's followed by Tim Wyan, it looks like. So most everything is out as it came in. But Dennis Garrison and Jarno Paniki, having already done their pit stops, stayed out. Those guys are in first and second. And then who is that in third? Bob Van Katwijk is sitting in third. I believe he did his pit stop in the first caution as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe so, but I actually don't think Jarno Paniki has done a pit stop, so he's, I think, the only one who hasn't pitted at all so far in the race, which I'm questioning a little, because he's going to have to pit possibly during green if there's not another caution.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, because he's going to have to get more fuel compared to these guys. And obviously he's going to have much older, much worn out tires. So even though he's got track position, it doesn't seem to have been doing much good for those guys on older tires. As soon as someone gets a nose in, they just start slipping backwards in a hurry.
Yeah, he was definitely one of the few drivers who was dropping back like a rock. He dropped down to, I think, about 8th place by the time that caution flew. So he was really struggling. But on the other hand, Dennis Garrison was charging up the field. So this could be a very good strategic move for him.
Definitely, Dennis was looking at, I believe he was in the top 5 before the pit stops. I'm not exactly sure where he was sitting, but he was one of the guys we were kind of watching that was making forward progress very easily. And where is the pace car, actually? It looks like the lights are still on, so we still got one more lap to go here as guys continue their way around. Now, I'm not as familiar with this series, Ayrton. Do they have the lucky dog here?
Yep, the first car lap down will receive the lucky dog every caution. So at the moment, that is Nano Vanderpool, but he is in the pits at the moment, so I don't think he'll receive the lucky dog.
That's correct. So I don't think they're going to have a lucky dog at all. Currently sitting at the back of the pack is Jon Somers. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Jon Somers should get it, I believe.
Right, yeah, he's on track, so he should get it. I'm not sure if he's already received it, so.
Well, he's lined up at the tail of the field, as we mentioned, and now they are 2 by 2, so we should be getting green this time by Dennis Garrison and Jarno Panikiet on the front row. Bob Van Katwijk and Rudy de Wit sitting back there. Rudy de Wit back in fourth, and now he's got fresher tires than all the guys around him, besides, Pascal and Ramstein behind him. So this could be a good opportunity. Let's see if he can try and hold on to the back of Dennis Garrison, as now they get the green flag, and Dennis does not wait. He absolutely checks out, and Jarno Panikiet has no answer. And that is Katwijk trying the inside, but that hasn't really worked on the restarts. On the outside, Rudy de Wit, though, is trying to hold on. He's still got him just a little bit. Can he get around the outside? He outbreaks him into 3 and 4. He's just a little bit ahead, but he doesn't seem to have the momentum coming down the front stretch.
Yeah, and these guys keep on going side by side. Pascal Dukers and Maxim Reinstein are going to be able to have a chance, but now they get held up. Maxim Reinstein shoots to the outside ahead of Pascal Dukers. Pascal Dukers had to check up in order not to hit Katwijk.
Absolute traffic jam back there in fifth through a lot of positions back, as guys are going too wide for a long ways, and they're starting to sort themselves out. Katwijk is trying to hold on, but dropping positions time and time again. Meanwhile, Rudy de Wit is already on the back of Panikiet, and he's looking to the inside, does an excellent undercut coming down the back stretch. I think he's going to have it through 3 and 4 easily.
Ramstein's going to look to try to follow right through on the inside line. He's right on the rear of Rudy de Wit now. These guys were leaders within the first 20 laps of the race. Now they have to charge and catch Dennis Garrison, who's already pulled a really nice lead in the first 2 laps of this restart.
But now Rudy de Wit has a clear track ahead of him, so Rudy's been the class of the field in terms of pace so far. I'm wondering if he's going to start reeling him in, but he's got Ramstein right on top of him as he's holding onto the back of that blue and white machine.
Maxim Reinstein looked to back off a little bit going into that turn 1. He might be thinking just to work with de Wit as they try to catch up to Garrison. There's no point battling now. It's so early in the race.
And they're definitely reeling him in. They took about a 10th out last time. Let's see what it is this time by. Another 10th gone, and Ramstein is definitely not waiting as he slips by on the inside of Rudy de Wit, taking over second place.
Meanwhile, in that 4th place position, too, Tim Wyan went on the inside of Jarno Panikiet. He's looking to try to catch up to the other guys as Kunscher also shoots to the inside. But Panikiet is really struggling on those old tires.
Yeah, I don't think Panikiet really has the strategy down, and he's losing another position as Dukers gets on the inside, and he's going to lose 2 in 1 corner possibly. It looks like Visser wanted a bit of the action, but wasn't able to get there.
Meanwhile, Maxim Reinstein has passed Rudy de Wit, and he's now on the back of Dennis Garrison as well, right on his bumper. He peaked a little before going into turn 1, but thought better of it, so now he's looking to get a run. He does have fresher tires just by about 10 laps. He's going to shoot to the inside going into turn 3.
And are we going to have a lead change yet again? And it's going to be the same car as last time for that lead change. That is Maxim Ramstein, who's taking over the lead on lap 52. And obviously, Ramstein is looking to challenge de Wit for this win.
Now de Wit's starting to get held up by Garrison. This is a chance for Ramstein to try to pull away a little gap and not allow Rudy de Wit to have any draft after he gets by Dennis Garrison.
Now, I know it's early days with, not even a third of the way through this race, Ayrton, but from what I'm seeing so far, I think already it's looking like fresh tires are going to be the deciding factor as Garrison gets a horrible run coming out of 2, and this allows de Wit to finally sneak by on the inside and move up into second position. But I was going to say, Ayrton, as now Garrison is going to possibly lose another position, I'm thinking it's going to be who has the freshest tires in that final stint that's going to really make the difference as far as who winds up winning this thing.
Yeah, like Dennis Garrison, his tires are only about 20 laps older, and that's not that much, and yet he's really dropping down now. He really doesn't have the pace of these other guys who just pitted in that previous caution.
Now, critically, with de Wit having to take a bit more time to try and get by Garrison, as now we see Tim Wyan by him, who's also gotten by into third. There is about 0.8 of a second between Ramstein and de Wit. So let's see what it is this time by the line, see if he's gained any speed now that he's clear. And it's the exact, almost the exact, down to a thousandth time between them. So these guys are very closely matched in pace, and maybe this is exactly what Maxim needed if he can just hold this gap as this stint continues.
Yeah, and we haven't actually seen that long of a run, so I'm interested to see which driver's setups will be better on the long run. Obviously, in oval racing, long runs, fast laps don't matter too much when you have these 50-lap stints, and these guys really have to take care of their tires, especially since we've seen how that tire management really comes into play.
Yes, I believe this actually should be the longest green period that we've had so far. We're knocking on wood, so I don't jinx it. Because these guys, they had the first caution about 20 laps in, and the next one was about 30 laps in. So we've completed about 30, almost 30 laps under green, I believe. And I'm watching Dennis Garrison continue to try and hold on to his position. He's keeping Kuhn Gerards behind him at this point, and Dennis is holding on to fourth, so things have started to even out between these guys. So maybe it's that they've got those fresh tires for that first part, and they've really got a lot of pace, and then after about 20 laps or so, everybody starts to be, everyone evens out, and everyone's just about got the same pace on those tires.
Yeah, it's interesting how Pascal Dukers, he was right there Rudy DeVitt and Maxim Reinstein, and yet he hasn't really budged since that restart that we had 15 or so laps ago. So he's still struggling to get around these guys. Dennis Garrison, Kuhn Gerard, Tim Wyan, they all have that pace at the moment.
And DeVitt is eating bits and pieces. Well, he was eating bits and pieces out of Ramstein, but now he's dropped back just a little bit. So it looks like they are evenly paced. I was going to say that Rudy maybe is eating out his lead just bit by bit. But as we've seen, can all change if they get another caution and guys start to employ pit strategy. But it's also becoming very interesting, as you said, with this stint going on, and these guys having to deal with the way these cars change over time around this short track, this demanding track that obviously is paying dividends with fresh tires early in a stint. And something that we haven't really touched on there is the temperature. It's overcast out here, even though it's night, and it's 78 degrees, so it's fairly warm night. So these guys do have some good ambient temperature, but without the sun on the track, I wonder if it's difficult to keep the temperature in the tires.
Yeah, you definitely have to be running them, and probably those caution periods affect the tires. We saw that on the restarts, the guys who had weaker tires, they didn't drop instantly. They dropped after a few laps. So probably everyone has about the same quality tires on those restarts since they're so cool. But we do have a slower car on the inside. I'm just checking who that is. Henk Arendt. He's a lap down at the moment. I think he was just letting leaders by on the apron, but he's going very slow at the moment.
Let's hop back to the battle for 18th, 19th, and 20th. Oh, because we've actually got a wreck as Jeroen Ursum is down low as he smacked the wall out of two and trying to get the car going. He's still kind of sitting there, interestingly, and they're not giving him a caution. So he is losing place after place as he's going to go a lap down easily, with the leaders now going, or having already gone by him. We're going to look at that replay again. And you can see he was in a good battle going on that I wanted to switch to. And now he's coming onto the front stretch on the replay here. He was taking a little bit of a look to the inside of that car in front of him. And then I think he just got a little bit too greedy on the exit there as he went up wide and then just smacked that wall, and down to the inside he went. So no caution for that. And then we're going to continue on green as Jeroen has now lost a lot of time and is all the way down into 22nd. And actually, he is in the pits right now. You can see trying to get his spare car. But up front, our top five, Maxim Ramstein is leading. Rudy DeVitt is holding on and has actually closed the gap, has chopped 0.3 off of Maxim. Dennis Garrison continuing to drop back a little bit, actually 2.3 seconds back from the leader, so he's dropped a lot. Then fourth is Kuhn Gerards, and then Tim Wyan is sitting in fifth with a battle we've got behind them going on between Roy Visser and Fabian de Jong, our championship leader.
Yeah, Roy Visser looked to make a little mistake, and that gave Fabian de Jong a chance to catch up to him. I just it looks like they've gone single file again now. Just want to mention that Jarno Panicki, who was our driver, who's still not pitted, he's sitting in 11th place. He looks to be back on pace, seems to be about the pace of these guys around him. But I'm wondering when he's planning on pitting, because we've had 2 cautions. So I mean, I'm guessing the next 10 or 20 laps he have to come into the pits.
Yeah, he's been able to save a bit of fuel with those cautions, but I'm looking at Pascal Dukers right now, who had a very bad exit out of 4 last time around, and this has allowed Visser to get right up behind him, and now we've got a 3-car chase for this 6th, 7th, and 8th spot here. Visser trying to find a way past that struggling Dukers, who really doesn't seem to have the grip right now.
Yeah, he might have burned out his tires a little too early. As we see some of these guys, they push too hard at the beginning, and then their tires just don't work for the rest of the stint. So he goes a little wider on the exit. Roy Visser's still peaking, trying to get that run on him on that inside line,
which has served a lot of drivers well. We've seen a number of them just try to get that nose in, and that's all they need to try and dive in and force someone out on this little bull ring short track to force them into the high line that's going to just make them drop positions. Right now, he's not able to do anything, keeps looking, and interestingly, Fabian, who I was going to say is being very patient, but not anymore, takes a look on the inside of Visser, but can't quite sneak it in there. I was going to say he seems to be kind of just waiting for an opportunity behind these guys, but now he's had enough, and I think he's decided he's being held up. Now he puts a nose in once again, coming into 3 and 4, and he's got that inside line as Visser just slides up towards the wall out of 4, and now he's definitely lost that inside line, and it's been a few laps for him to try and get this pass done. I think he might have it. Now he's going to be able to out-drag him down the backstretch. Fabian de Jong up into 7th.
Seems that the inside line is definitely preferred over these guys. We've seen at some of the previous races, such as Charlotte, the outside line was actually pretty preferred by some of the drivers. They really liked making maneuvers on the outside line, but this track, it seems to really favor the inside line.
Shortest way around that corner, so those guys have been making good on that. But that has caused them to lose touch with that orange car of Pascal Dukers, who's put just a little bit of gap on them now. You can see. Let's see if Fabian can do any more than Roy Visser did as he was trying to get by. In fact, Pascal has caught up to, I'm sorry, that's the lapped car of Nano van der Poel, who he's slipping by right now, and that'll throw an interesting kink in things as he gets held up just a little bit, and now it looks like, I'm sorry, I was going to say Roy Visser, but no, that's Fabian de Jong who is behind him. So Fabian has caught up now. Let's see if he can do what Roy Visser could not and try to get himself up into 6th.
Yeah, and now Rudy DeVitt is actually within 4/10 of Maxim Mercer, so he's really closed that gap, but still not really making any maneuvers at the moment. They do have a big lead ahead of the other drivers. As we're back on Fabian de Jong, making a move on Pascal Dukers, going into 1. Pascal Dukers seems to go very slow, and he's now squeezing Roy Visser on the inside. They go 3 wide with a lap car
and
have contact.
There's our caution. And Roy Visser gets tipped back up into the racing line and is caught out by, who is that in that 46 car? Neil Heckens, 41 car, I'm sorry. Neil Heckens had a huge blow, and he has to get a tow.
I don't understand exactly what happened to Pascal Dukers. He slowed down a lot on the entry to turn 1 and left Fabian de Jong by. I think it might have just been slowing from the lap car ahead, and he was trying to just not hit the lap car and ended up having contact with Roy Visser.
Yeah, and you can see 3 wide, and that exit just does not work, and cars did not slow down quick enough as, although I have to kind of put that actually, I take that back. I put that a little bit more on Visser because he kind of steered the car back up into the racing line. He really should have put the brakes on and tried to get that car stopped since he was down low. And that was just an unfortunate maneuver by his part, but really put him in a bad position, especially with Thyssen just barreling down on him.
So now Roy Visser's driving through pits with a smoking car. Hopefully he didn't use his fast tow earlier on and he can get back on track without losing too many positions. But meanwhile, in the pit road race, all the drivers came in. Maxim Reinstein ended up coming out in front of Rudy DeVitt.
Yeah, in fact, we're seeing some drivers start to hop into the pits now, including Fabian de Jong. So, and who is that behind him that's Nano van der Poel, who's actually going to get his lap back, I believe. And actually, a couple cars are heading in. Kim van der Sticklen is heading in as well. Did these guys miss the boat in the first time around?
Yeah, they might have missed it quite a bit, and now they saw the other drivers going to pits, realized they might have to go into pits, so that probably is going to cost them quite a few positions.
Oof, unfortunate mistake from those guys. Meanwhile, Maxim Ramstein sitting in first with Rudy de Witt behind him. Uh, so these guys are going to be on fresh tires yet again. And who is that in third? That's Koen Gerards, who's done very well for himself now, sitting in third effectively. I know we see Fabian de Jong and Kim van der Sticklen at the top of the timing sheets right now, but those guys have pitted, so they are farther down. Things should update soon now that they are getting ready to come across the line. So, and as you can see, Jeroen Ursum in that pink Barbie car and Neno van der Poel in the orange and white car are going to get their laps back soon here. At least they should be waved by since those guys are laps down.
Meanwhile, this all played into the hand of Jarno Pankey. He didn't end up having to pit during green, and now he's back up to 6th place, so this is playing pretty well for his strategy.
Yeah, I think he got a bit lucky though there. I don't know if I would try going long like that anymore. Obviously, it's not really doing him well because he kept losing positions on the restarts in the first set of laps as his worn tires were just not giving him the grip and the speed that he needed. I mean, if I were him, I would start playing more along of what everybody else is doing, unless he's really just trying to play some sort of alternate strategy because he knows he doesn't have the pace. I mean, where did he qualify? He qualified 8th, and he's sitting 6th. So, I mean, he has speed, obviously, so I'm not sure what exactly he's trying to do out there, Ayrton.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen him have speed. We saw him, he was the winner of the Darlington race, second race of the season, so he definitely has a lot of pace. So maybe he just missed the pit stop on the first couple cautions, didn't want to pit then, and was hoping for another caution, but it was a risky move. He got very lucky, you're right about that. As they're starting to get lined up again for the next restart, Maxim Reinstein is going to lead them away instead of Rudy de Witt, but he is on the outside ready to attack at any moment.
Yes, this will be really interesting to see how these guys work with equal tires now and who can make the best of it. Behind them, interestingly, Dennis Garrison sitting in 4th. Let's see how he can do as well. Now that the pace car has peeled off, Maxim just absolutely bolts and leads them away. Rudy is trying to hold on. He is in the clear. There's nobody that's able to really challenge him down into 1. Although Garrison and Koen Gerards are going side by side, so is Jarno Pankey, and that is Tim Wyan on the inside of him. In fact, Wyan is on the inside of Garrison now, and is trying to get himself up into 4th.
Jarno Pankey got a little held up from Dennis Garrison, who got bad exit in the previous lap, so he's now going to have to run into that position and just sit behind Tim Wyan, who's now making that maneuver on Dennis Garrison, probably going to finish out into the entrance of 3 as he does. So now they've already shot into single file. Those guys have already lost a little bit of time to the leaders.
Whoa, Pascal Dukers just almost lost it coming out of 4. Got a little squirrely. Once again, that apron really caught him out. It seems like that's really a weak point of a number of these guys. He's got Nick Thyssen behind him trying to find his way past, but he's on the wrong side of the track. Can he do it around the outside? That'll be an impressive move. That's Roy Visser behind them, who still manages to be on the lead lap after that accident, which is interesting. In fact, both Pascal and Roy are still on that lead lap after being involved in that accident, which I guess that is down to the spare car.
Yeah, but that means both of them have used their spare car, so they're going to have to be careful as Roy Visser shoots to the inside of Pascal Dukers. Pascal Dukers is being very wary on this outside line. That's the second time that he's given up position, gone very slow, had to cause Nick Thyssen to check up.
Yeah, Nick trying to find his way past Pascal, but as you said, his momentum was ruined there. Steven Van Helsdingen is right behind him to try to pick up the pieces, along with Tymon de Boers, who we haven't really talked about yet, but those guys, all 4 in a row, very close together on track right now.
Meanwhile, up in second place, Rudy de Witt is under extreme pressure from trail of cars, Koen Gerards, Tim Wyan, Dennis Garrison, and Jarno Pankey, while Maxim Reinstein is running away. He already has an 0.8 of a second lead ahead of these guys.
So Maxim obviously has some better pace over a run than Rudy DeVitt does, and Kroon just right up on the bumper of that blue and white car, gives him just a little bit of a love tap. That's short track racing for it, but he has to back off. Now he's going to get right up on him once again. If he can just get a run, I'm pretty sure Kroon is going to be able to get by Rudy, although I'm not exactly sure why Rudy is struggling so bad right now.
And we've passed the halfway mark already in this race. It's the 91th lap out of 177. So these guys, they're going to start thinking about the rest of the race. It's past halfway, so not so much conservative driving, a little bit more aggressive driving, thinking about their finishing positions.
And Dennis Garrison was taking a look on Tim Wyan, trying through out the exit of 4, and nothing doing there. He's still got Jarno Panicky right behind him. Jarno holding on now that he's got now that he's finally taken his stop. And it looks like, as we're on board with Tim right now, trying to run down Kuhn Gerarts ahead of him. We're watching that battle between Kuhn and Rudy DeVitt for second and third place, but nothing doing right there. Let's hop back onto, a move going on the inside here with Dennis Garrison. Let's hop off board as Dennis has got the job done, and it looks like we might lose another position. Almost contact there between Tim Wyan and Jarno Panicky, and now Wyan is definitely going to lose a spot.
So Tim Wyan has to surrender that position to Jarno Panicky. That was very close. Almost spun himself around with that near contact, but both managed to keep it together, and they've all gone back to single file. They lost a little bit of time from Kuhn Gerard in that third place position.
Definitely. So these guys battling is just giving a little bit of breathing room, and that's exactly what I think Kuhn is going to want at this point, because I think he knows that if he starts really challenging, that's going to allow that pack behind them to really close up. So when they were closer before, I don't think that he really wanted to try and get racing side by side, because that could really go badly for him if he ruins his momentum. But he's not really making a challenge now, so I wonder if maybe there was a mistake from Rudy that we didn't see earlier that allowed him to get right up behind him. Whatever the case, they are just kind of running off laps, just ticking them off. We just completed lap 96. We're into lap 97, as you said, already past halfway. So these guys aren't really doing a whole bunch up here, as Ramstein continuing to lead the pack. Let's hop back a little bit farther, see if we can find ourselves a good battle going on farther down in the field.
We do have the lap car Nano Vanderpool, who's in pits at the moment. Not sure if he had some damage or was just doing a regular pit stop. He's sitting in there for quite a while.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what's going on there with him. In the meantime, let's hop back to Tymon de Boers and Bob Van Katwijk. These guys are pretty close. This is currently for 14th and 15th. Katwijk trying to run him down, and just ahead of them, they've got Fabian de Jong, our championship leader, sitting in 13th, interestingly. I'm wondering why he is so far back.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. He might have been caught out in that previous pit stop. Maybe took too much fuel or took tires when he didn't need to. So up ahead of them actually is a battle going on between Nick Thyssen and Mark Figueres. Mark Figueres has been moving up the field in this mid-pack. He's already up to that 9th place position, and also behind them is Steven Van Helsden and being passed by Denny Rates.
So Denny has moved himself up into 11th spot, and in fact Van Helsing is getting passed now by Fabian, who takes the opportunity to try and slip himself into one more spot forward, and he's able to do it unless he's got an over-under here. No, gets a good exit out of there. So Van Helsdingen is really struggling at the moment, because now he's got de Boers all over the back of him. Meanwhile, we are on board with Fabian de Jong, who is trying to hunt down Denny Rotz just ahead of him, as Denny's trying to take a look on the inside of Nick Thyssen, but nothing doing right there. Just following on board, getting an idea of what it's like in these cars in such a short lap. Down onto that, down up to that apron, out towards the wall, and then before you know it, back stretch is over. Wow, just look at how it closes up under braking on that car in front. And let's see, has he got a run on Thyssen this time? It looks like Rotz just doesn't quite have it. He keeps taking a peek down into that corner, trying to run it hard in, but just can't quite do it.
Yeah, Nick Thyssen, we haven't seen that much in the series. He did race in the road race at Watkins Glen and was a front contender, but in the oval races, we haven't seen him that much in the front. He is in the top 10, which is a good running position, but being contested by Denny Raitt at this time.
I thought for sure that Rotz was going to have it that time through. Looked like he had a very good run, but I guess he's being just a little bit cautious, not trying to dive bomb in on Thyssen there into one. But every single time it seems to be out of 4 and into 1 that he gets a fairly good run and just can't quite capitalize on it. Let's see if Fabian de Jong can do anything out of that. And especially, it's going to become critical for Fabian to try and make up some positions here or do something. We're at a lap 105 out of 177 if Fabian doesn't get back up to the front soon, as now it looks like we've got a run with Danny Rotz fully along the inside of Thyssen coming up to 1, and Thyssen concedes the corner, and now Fabian follows him on through. Good opportunistic racing. Is he going to be able to carry the momentum and complete the pass down the backstretch? It looks like he's got it there side by side. It's a drag race, but wow, look at Thyssen really carry the speed, but he carries too much, and he goes way wide, and it is definitely Fabian's spot now, as Fabian is up into 11th. But boy, this could be Fabian's first finish outside the top 5 unless we see him make some progress.
Meanwhile, back up the front, Maxim Reinstein has Rudy de Witt right on his bumper within 0.2 of a second. Koen Gerards, who's falling back from these guys.
We've got a caution.
Exciting.
Yeah. Well, it's going to just be as close on the restart, and this will be interesting because when was our last caution and stops? I'm trying to remember exactly.
I think it was about lap 60 or 70.
So they've been on long enough that I wouldn't be surprised if these guys hop in and try to get some fresh tires and make some ground. See, this is where the strategy call, I think, is going to be very interesting, Ayrton, when it's not a complete full stint that's finished. When it gets to the later in the race, do you give up the track position and put on fresh tires and hope that you can run up, slice your way through the field? What do these guys do towards the end?
I think the as you said earlier, one of the fresher tires is probably going to have the advantage. Though we have seen some of the guys struggle with getting through the field. Earlier on, Pascal Dugars, he did have fresh tires for almost every caution, but yet he still was struggling to get through the field. So it can really depend.
Yeah, and these guys, obviously, everyone is electing, just about everyone. Ramstein is in, de Witt is in, Gerards, Paniquet, Wyan, Guressen, Dukers, Visser, everybody. Who is going to be first out? This is going to be really critical, especially between de Witt and Ramstein. I hope we can keep the cameras on them. Yes, we do. Let's see who is going to be able to get out first between them. Ramstein was first in. Is he going to be first out? He is behind de Witt in the pit lane here. Oh, and someone got a really good start behind them, but it is de Witt who is out first. He is able to jump him in the pits.
Right behind them, Koen Gerards and Jarno Paniquet as well managed to shoot up to 4th place as well, right in front of Tim Wyan.
Where was Koen on the lap in? Was he in 3rd on the way in? Yes, he was. So Koen came out where he came in. But wow, critical moment for de Witt.
And as we saw earlier, I think Rudy de Witt has the advantage on the long run. Ramstein seems to be much better in the first few laps of the stints, but then Rudy de Witt eventually closes in. So that might come into play. Ramstein is probably going to try to make an early maneuver, but since he's starting behind, Rudy de Witt will probably be able to stay on his tail if he does.
So we see Jeroen Ursum in the pink Barbie car, who is going to get another lap back, currently sitting 2 laps down in 20th. Jones Summers is in the pits just ahead of him. So actually, this will be interesting because Jon, I'm sorry, I believe he's going to lose a spot here between himself and Jeroen unless he gets out very soon. Summers is just going to be able to beat him out, it looks like.
Yeah, meanwhile, there's Nick Thyssen in the pits as well. He's going to probably lose a lot of position to almost win a lap down with that pit stop. He seemed to have quite a bit later pit stop than the rest of the guys.
Guess he didn't get the call from his crew chief, if he has a crew chief, so possibly made a strategical error there. In the meantime, still have a little bit to go because they need to let Jeroen by, which I believe they should be doing this time by. and then they will get them lined up 2 by 2, and we are going to have our restart. Now, your pick was Rudy de Witt, Ayrton. So, and thus far, that's proving to be a pretty good pick.
Yeah, I think this race is mostly a battle between Rudy de Witt and Maxim Reinstein. But then there is Kuhn Garage, Jarno Panicky, Tim Vine. They're all sitting right there in case one of them make a mistake. So if those two guys have any form of contact or spin or any sort in coming to the final few laps, those guys are ready to pounce.
Now, where is Fabian de Jong? He is up into 10th now. So Fabian has managed to get himself just one more spot, but he's not making forward progress. I'm wondering, since this is the first short track, if whether this short track racing really doesn't suit him as well as the larger ones.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because he actually has the most laps of practice, about 320 laps over these guys. So he has a lot of practice. Surprised he's not doing as well.
Well, the pace car has peeled off. Rudy does not take off. Now he does. Now we get the green flag, and he catches Maxim by surprise, who doesn't get a good run at all. But look at Jarno Panicky moving himself up into third, and we've got a spin. That is Dukers, who just holds onto it, and everybody scatters to get around him. Miraculously, everybody's good, but now we've got Timon de Bruyers trying to hold on. Just had a tip. I can't believe everybody got through there.
Dennis Garrison went on the inside under apron 4 wide on the exit of turn 2 there, managed to keep it together as well. So he got a rocket start starting around like 9th place, and he's already up to 7th.
Looking at that replay of that restart, just a hell of a moment for Dukers. I got to give him credit for keeping that car together and then keeping out of everybody who was barreling down on him. Just look at them scatter on the replay, absolutely trying to squeeze through there, and poor Timon just was just too far to the right of that 3-wide situation, but he kept it going as well. Meanwhile, de Witt still in first. Ramstein is right behind him, and let's hope that this battle is able to continue on. Gerards is absolutely dropping back. These guys are definitely the ones, as you said, to watch. They're going to be challenging for the win at the moment at lap 117.
Ramstein has a lot of pressure. He's looking for that inside line. He just needs to get a run on Rudy de Witt. These guys, they pulled away from Gerards at the moment, who's really just on his own. He's quite a bit ahead of Jarno Panicky, who's actually being passed by Tim Vine for that 4th place position.
So Tim Vine is obviously trying to make progress forward. Jarno Panicky having just a bit of a problem making good with the track position. He's been able to gain around here, but still up in the top 5, nothing to be ashamed of. He's still got Roy Visser and Dennis Garrison close behind him. So it is not over yet in the least between these 4, and that is for 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th between these 4 cars.
Kuhn Gerards is closed back up on the top 2 drivers. Maxim Reinstein made a little bit of a wobble while trying to make a move on the outside of Rudy de Witt. Maybe not the best decision. As we've seen, the outside has been very difficult for a lot of these drivers.
Ramstein right up on that bumper. Just look at him just hold on to the back of that car, trying to put the pressure on de Witt. Now, what kind of driver is he under pressure as he takes just a little bit of a peek, and Ramstein just about gives him a ram, and but keeps out of him. I don't think there was contact. It was very close though. But Ayrton, what kind of driver is Rudy under pressure? Have we seen him in this sort of situation yet?
No, I think in the past mostly he either runs away from a race or is trying to work back through the field. So I haven't seen him in this situation. There's not normally many drivers who can really stand a chance against him with raw pace, but Maxim Reinstein is really showing that he can really give Rudy de Witt a run for his money.
Lap 122. Just a little bit of a left tap. Yet again, he is getting right on top of him. And so we've got 55 laps left to go. Obviously, Maxim is not shy about this close quarters short track racing. And he is pulling back just a little bit now, not right on top of him as he was before, but boy, was he getting right under the rear spoiler.
And these guys are probably going to be able to finish this race off with only one more pit stop. Actually, right now it would be pretty tight on the fuel if they had another caution or two, but they're probably going to need one more pit stop before the end of the race, so that will come into play if they have another caution.
Now, as we watch this, I just want to take a moment to mention Fabian de Jong, who has been trying to make forward progress, but he can't seem to get by Joey Schmidt, who is holding him up. In fact, he's right in the middle of the pack, but now Joey Schmidt goes wide, and this allows one more position for Fabian de Jong to try and salvage another top 5, this is going to be the one that possibly hurts him, although a top 10 is still going to at least keep him in the hunt for the championship.
Yeah, Joe Schmidt and Fabien Gijón are actually teammates. They were working together during the Daytona race earlier this season. So they, Joe Schmidt's probably doing the teammate a favor, maybe, but he is falling back. Meanwhile, Fabien Gijón making a move on Nick Thyssen.
We got some information from our, and it sounds like we've got some action going on with Richard. Let's hop over to him.
He's going into the pits at the moment.
So we're getting the replay to see what exactly happened there. Looks like he just slammed into the wall in 2. Once again, turn 2, just absolutely biting a number of these drivers. Now we are back live, and we are on the leaders yet again. Pressure still on between Ramstein and de Wit. Lap 127, 50 laps to go for these cars. And it is on between these top 2. Ramstein has been pressuring him. If you are just joining us, it is mostly between these 2 drivers. In fact, I think other than a couple of drivers having some off-strategy moments, I think these are the only 2 to have lead laps so far.
Yeah, I think there have been a couple which led during the cautions, but yeah, those are mainly the real contenders for lead of this race. As we actually, Dennis Garrison, for that 6th place position, just skipped the wall on the exit of 4. He's trying to pressure Tim by him, but lost a little bit of time.
Ramstein, I think, skimmed the wall too. He lost time to de Wit for some reason. In fact, he's dropped back a lot, and Gerards is right on top of him.
That's what we were talking about earlier before the race, that just the exit on these corners, especially when the tires start getting old, drivers have to be careful because that can affect their suspension and overall affect their speed as well. So with that tap, Max Weinstein might have a lot of trouble catching back up to Rudy de Wit.
Well, let's jump back to Garrison, who's now on the inside of Vian and just completes the pass smooth as you like. So textbook maneuver from Garrison to move himself into the top 5.
And Dennis Garrison has also been one of our really consistent drivers. At the moment, he's tied for that 4th place position in this in the standings in the championship. So he's going to look to try to get ahead.
And speak of the devil, you said a caution is going to make things interesting as far as pit strategy. Now we've got a caution. I didn't see who was involved in it. Let's see if we can figure that out. Trying to figure out who exactly was involved in that while the pace car is picking the leaders up. We've got a replay up. Let's see who exactly this was. Apologies, my feed is... I'm seeing Joan Summers, actually, on the screen sitting in the pits, but I'm not exactly sure that caused the
there was
safety.
there was contact between Nick Thyssen and Pascal Dukers. They got into each other. Nick Thyssen went spun around and hit the wall.
Now I believe we're getting the replay on that, and we're seeing just the tail end as Thyssen gets his car going. Hopping it back just a little bit more. Now we're watching that go down between Thyssen and the orange car of, who is that exactly? That's Dukers, you said. Yeah, just tipped him coming up into 3 and 4. And that little bit of contact was enough to send Thyssen around. And he was involved in an accident before, so this damage is going to have to be fixed by him. And now we've got a bunch of cars in the pits. Let's go back live because Rudy de Wit and Maxim Ramstein. But who is that going out ahead of them? Oh, I'm sorry, it was... That is Joan Summers. Oh, I'm sorry, he was a lap down. For a second, I thought there was a newcomer challenging. De Wit was able to get out in front of Ramstein. And then Koen Gerards is sitting in 3rd with, I believe, Panikeet came out 4th as well.
Yeah, so this is going to be, they're going to have the restart with about 40 laps to go. So these guys, they're going to be able to run to the end. I'm interested to see if a caution comes out between this and the finish, if any of the drivers decide to go into the pits and try to get brand new tires to run even faster, or if they're willing to sacrifice any positions.
That is going to be the $1 million question for today's race here at the Goodyear 133 at Richmond, round 6 of the Piston Cup. So the championship is well underway here. Guys are probably starting to think about that point situation and try to think about where they're finishing and what this means for them, especially Fabian de Jong sitting in 8th. So he's slowly moving forward. I'd be very curious to talk to Fabian after the race to figure out what exactly moved him down the order that much. I wonder if he got involved in some sort of accident somewhere along the way or what, because he's been struggling to get back up there. I mean, 8th is still within touching distance, and I believe he stopped in with everybody else. So he's still kind of working his way up. And where did Fabian qualify? He qualified 6th. So he's just about back to where he started in terms of single lap pace. But we are going to let the, in fact, I believe we've let the cars by, the lapped cars by. Have we got the lights still on the pace car, though? I'm trying to look here. Yes, lights are still on the pace car, so we've got at least one more lap to go.
At the moment, I'm actually trying to look at Ramstein in the championship standings, and actually, he's all the way down in 25th place. He has not actually participated in that many races, so he's not looking for championship. He's just going all out.
So obviously he has less to worry about there, and that he just wants the win. Now they are 2 by 2 as the pace car is going to lead them around to the restart, lap 137. We have 40 laps to go here. As you said, just about a stint. So things are going to be wearing out, and the guys are going to have to be wondering if they get a caution somewhere between now and, I would assume, maybe about 15, 20 laps to go. It's going to be a big question mark. Do I stop? Do I take the fresh tires? What do I do? Rudy de Witt and Maxim Ramstein are going to have to answer that if we get to that point. But in the meantime, we are going to take the green flag as Rudy de Witt starts to accelerate. And look at that. Ramstein under threat from Koen Gerards. In fact, Koen is all the way past him, coming up into 1 and 2. Is he going to be able to come around the outside? He's holding on as hard as he can. He knows he's got to hold on to Rudy. Maxim Ramstein is trying to get around the outside of Koen. Koen really wants to get up into that position, and now Maxim really has to give up the ghost as Koen has slipped up in a second, and Maxim is under threat once again from Tim Wine, who's got the inside into 1 and 2.
And we even saw last week at Charlotte, Maxim Ramstein really loves that outside line, even though it may not be the fastest. He can drive on it really well, and as you can see, he's not giving up on any positions at the moment.
Oh, but he has got to, and he's not able to slot into position. I was going to say he really needs to go and defend. Now he does. He knows he's got to get defensive here, and he cuts off, that is Roy Visser, and actually tries to make a move on Wyatt, and he actually makes it work. I thought that was a defensive move. That was just a dive by Ramstein, who is trying his hardest to get back up to de Witt, who is starting to put a bit of a gap on Koen Gerards at the moment, and this is really the time where de Witt has got to turn the afterburners on.
Yeah, and as we saw before, I don't think Koen Gerards has that pace that Rudy de Witt and Maxim Reinstein have had this race. He's been able to keep up with them with the draft.
We've got a caution. Ooh, this throws an even bigger question mark. I don't think, actually, you know what? I don't think anybody should be going in for tires or fuel at this point. That thing seems like a bit of a fool's errand. Because by the time they get to towards the end of the race, everybody's going to be pretty even on those tires. Roy Visser, though, I want to mention, Roy Visser just snuck by Tim Wyan in all that battling, so Roy Visser's done very good after being involved in a big accident and hopping into his spare car to get himself up into the top 5, so kudos to him.
Also, with this caution, Jeroen Ursum, he's going to be able to get back onto the lead lap after spending almost the whole race a lap down.
Well, it just goes to show you with these longer races, you just can't give up. And Jeroen, my hat is tipped to you for sticking with it and not giving up and not getting depressed about this thing, because you are going to be back into the competition here, my good man, and hopefully fighting with Pascal Dukers. Actually, no, Pascal's going lap down himself. Steven van Helsdingen as well is going to be the last car on the lead lap, it looks like. And now we're looking at a replay of that accident that caused this. It looks like Pascal Dukers, as we mentioned, just got slammed by Van Helsdingen coming out of 2. Once again, turn 2, just chomping up cars and spitting them out. And poor Pascal, he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I think he definitely came out the worst with that smoking car as he gets it rolling once again.
Yeah, Dukers has been involved in 3 accidents today. Most of them not really his fault. Him just being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
And I think that's unfortunately just the nature of short track racing. You're at such close quarters. Sometimes you're, like you said, you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, and there's not much you can do about it. You got to just be as heads up as you can and deal with it as it comes.
So we're gonna have about 32 laps, I think, when we go back green for these guys.
Yeah, we're on lap 144 right now, and I think this goes to what you were saying earlier of later in the race, guys are getting more aggressive. We're seeing people be a little more antsy and more mistakes out of drivers. Guys were not making this many mistakes early on. That's 2 cautions in a row. We haven't really had that before, and the restarts are just going to keep breeding cautions. You know, yellows breed yellows. So these guys have got to start being a little bit more heads up, I think, unless they want this thing to finish under yellow, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think we've only had 1 race this season, 1 or 2 that have finished under yellow. So this season has actually brought a lot of good racing. We've seen some pretty close finishes.
I believe one of the races that finished under yellow was Darlington last, where I was coming in to commentate. Was it not?
I'm not sure.
Well, if that's the case, I really hope I'm not a bad luck charm here on this series because I want to see a green finish for these guys. Koen Gerards, what a move that was on that restart to try and sneak by on the inside. I mean, obviously he doesn't have the pace, but you know, if something happens to Rudy, if Rudy gets a little bit squirrely out of a corner, if he slaps the wall at a 2, that's going to mean, you know, if moves like that would move Koen up into first. So, but we've seen the car on the outside coming on these restarts, which is where Koen's going to be, is a very tricky position. You've really got to go deep to hold on to that spot because that third place car with the inside line seems to always challenge for that second place spot.
Yeah, this league has no regulations on when the leader can go. So between when the pace car goes into pit lane and when the green flag comes out, the leader can go at any time he wants, which really does make it difficult for that guy in second place on the outside line. But this time, Maxim Reinstein, he's going to be on the inside right behind Rudy DeWitt. Hopefully he can get an advantage and try to follow Rudy DeWitt through.
Yeah, it's really going to be critical, and Rudy just bolts, and look at Maxim already on the inside. I think this is going to be it. This is possibly going to be second position as Koen is well on the outside. In fact, he's already under threat from Roy Visser, and Roy has snuck all the way through from, was he in 4th or 5th? I can't recall, but boy, is he made good on that restart, and he's going to be up into 3rd already.
Yeah, Roy almost forced it 3 wide going to turn 1, but Tim Vine backed out a little bit. He's now up to 3rd place, which is his highest running so far in the season. We've seen him in the top 5, but 3rd place, really good running for him. He's right behind Maxim Reinstein, but under threat from Koen Gerards.
And Visser is in take no prisoners mode because he absolutely chopped off Gerards coming down into 1 and 2 last time by. And Gerards had to check up. Gerards is now under threat from Tim Wyan, who has to back out of it, can't quite get his nose under him. But look at this top 3, and Visser is holding on to these guys as Ramstein tries to take a look on the inside, coming into 3, but can't get a nose in. And Rudy DeWitt holds on to the lead, but the top 3 are 1, 2, 3 all together within half a second, within 0.3 of a second of each other.
And I won't be surprised if any of these guys make some overly aggressive moves. We've already seen Ramstein give some bumps to Rudy DeWitt, and letting Rudy DeWitt know that he's not afraid to rub some bumpers together.
And Visser getting just a little bit of a slide on the exit. He's got to worry about those rear tires because right now already, look at Koen Gerards, saw that and was getting right up on him, but Koen had to back up, and now Tim Wyan is already on him. But that is the sort of stuff that you got to watch out for out of that 4 exit, is spinning up those tires and using them up, and also just losing your speed. But now Visser is better and right on the back of Ramstein and trying to stay in this battle.
About 25 laps to go, and Ramstein has lost a little bit of time to Rudy DeWitt in front of him. He's really under pressure from Roy Visser. I've noticed that he's been going into the corners a little earlier, possibly defending.
Now, Visser is someone we saw up towards the top early in the race, and then he got into an accident, had to climb his way back up, and already made his way. So I wouldn't say that he's sandbagging, but you have to admit that he has definitely learned, when to turn things on, because it's late in the race, lap 153 out of 177, and he is absolutely knowing now is the time to go. Now is the time to make good of this track position that I've got.
And we've seen that all season from Roy Visser and his teammate Dennis Garrison. They seem to always be at the right place, right time at the end of the races. And we've seen both those guys. They have really good runs at the end of the races. You think, well, where were they for the first half? And then they all of a sudden are in the top 5 near the end. So they have really got their strategy set down in this series. And that probably explains why both of them are right outside the top 3 in the championship as well.
And we're currently sitting on board with Gerards, who is following these top 3 as they work their way around the pack. And it looks like that Visser really wants to challenge, but can't quite make his way through. Let's hop on. Let's stay on board actually with Visser, for a second and watch these top 3, because I want to crank it up for just a moment and listen to these cars barrel their way around this short little bull ring of a Richmond track. As we crank it up for a moment, this battle for the top 3 with less than 20 laps to go. And it looks like we have a caution. Let's see if we can figure out what happened. We think it might have been Nick Piston once again. This guy's been in trouble quite a bit, and yes, it was. Looks like just about a lap ago, Nick Thyssen and Van der Sticklen and poor Bob Van Katwick was involved in it as well. Let's look at this replay. Looks like it happened in turns 3 and 4 between these guys.
That's the second time today that Nick Thyssen has been spun around.
Yeah, as we're watching the replay here, I really don't think that was Thyssen's fault at all. That was just a little bit of an overambitious move from Van der Sticklen trying to stick it into 3 and 4, it looks like. And now we're getting up to that part of the replay. Yeah, just absolutely tipped him around. And poor Nick has got the bad end of the stick during most of this race, I think.
And Rudy DeVitt faking going into the pits almost threw off some of the other drivers such as Reimstein and Visser, though we do have a couple guys going into the pits. Jarno Panicky won them. He was in the top 6 or so, I think, and he's going to lose a lot of positions now going into the pits.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing about these sort of off-strategy calls and hoping that you can weave through the field. If not a lot of guys go into the pits, then you have so much more work to do. So unfortunately, the one that we were wondering about is definitely not going to work for these guys with, let's see, 17 laps to go. We're on lap 160. So, I mean, gosh, he's going to have, what, all of like 14 cars to try and work his way through there. So I don't think Paniquet made the right strategy call there to try and get himself some fresh tires, unless we get yet another caution.
And meanwhile, our championship leader, Fabian DeJean, he's managed to work back up to 7th place, so little better than it was before, right up to where his qualifying position was.
Yes, great job from Fabian to try and minimize the damage there. But 7th place is probably not what he's going to be wanting still. I think our championship leader is going to be hoping for more, especially having gotten a win already. I think he's going to want to keep ticking those off. He's sitting behind Dennis Garrison, one of those guys you said is just always up in the right position at the right time. And sitting in the top 6 is going to be good for him, but he's got to also do just a little bit better to move himself farther up in the points, I think. Meanwhile, DeVitt still leading Ramstein. Let's see if he can make good on this restart this time, now that he doesn't have to try and work his way past muscle his way past Gerards, who is sitting down in fourth now. But he's still got Roy Visser, who has really got a hooked up car this late in the race and has been absolutely threatening Maxim. I'm wondering if he's got more pace than he let on earlier.
Yeah, Roy Visser actually the top three guys are where their qualifying positions were: Rudy DeVitt in first, Ramstein in second, and Roy Visser in third. So they are really showing that they have that same pace on the long run as well as in that qualifying hot lapping pace.
And lights are still on the pace car, so we've got at least one more lap to go for these guys before we go back to green. We are on lap 162, getting ready to tick off onto one lap 63. Now they are going too wide, so now the lights are off. Looks like we should be going green this time by. Let's hope we stay green all the way to the finish. Can Maxim Reimstein challenge Rudy DeVitt? Can Roy Visser get himself up there and possibly get himself a win? Can Rudy finally say goodbye to his bad luck and get himself a win in this series? Now, I haven't looked at the stats. Has Rudy won yet in this series, Ayrton?
Yep, he won, though, on a road course at Watkins Glen, so he hasn't won on an oval yet, even though he's shown really good pace.
So Rudy trying to prove himself on these ovals and see what he can do. Pace car should be peeling off any second now. We are on board with Roy Visser. There you see him go. What can Roy do on these restarts? Holding on to the back, and there he goes, disappears into a speck. But can he hold on and try and get? And Roy Visser, I don't think he's going to be able to get on the inside. Yes, he can. And this is going to be it. Second place for Roy Visser as Ramstein loses out once again on that restart.
And out of the top five, Rudy DeVitt is the only one with a win this season. So all these guys behind Rudy DeVitt, they're going to be clawing for that first win that they probably really want. Roy Visser right on the back of Rudy DeVitt.
12 laps to go. We are getting down to the final moments here. Roy Visser, as you said, just trying to hold on. And Maxim Ramstein is not giving up either. He's obviously had the pace as well. Once again, Visser just seeming to slide up the track on the exit of 4. I feel like he's burning up those tires, I would think.
Yeah, with about 11 laps, this is not the time to be doing it. He's letting Maxim Ramstein get right on him as he's letting Rudy DeVitt get a little bit of a gap ahead. He still has the draft, so he can still stick onto him, but really these guys have to be making those moves any moment now.
Boy, I bet Ramstein is just kicking himself knowing that he gave up that second position, because right now with DeVitt trying to peel away, this is making it very difficult for Maxim to try and make any sort of challenge. And Roy Visser just holding onto that spot with Maxim trying to find a way past, right up on the bumper of that black and red and white car, but nothing doing this time around. We are less than 10 laps to go. Can Rudy hold on? Can Roy Visser try and hold on to that second spot and hold off a charging Maxim Ramstein?
Meanwhile, there's also Mark Figueres, who's managed to get up to 7th place. He started all the way down in 14th, so he's halved his position from where he started. So he's having a really good run to the front of this field.
In fact, he has gotten past Fabian de Jong in that restart, so good job to Mark for making up yet another position. Meanwhile, Rudy DeVitt has been hunted down by Roy Visser. Whatever was hurting Roy Visser's pace before, now he has shaken it off, and he is all over the bumper of that blue and white machine.
Rudy DeVitt has proven to be very difficult to pass, as Roy Visser has a little bit of a bobble on the exit of turn 2. That's letting Maxim Ramstein get around the bumper, and these guys are all equally separated. They're all within half a second from each other. So these guys are really, really close, and they've got still a train of drivers from 3rd to 7th, all right behind them. If any of them make a mistake, they will be really regretting it.
Yeah, because there's not going to be any time. 6 laps to go. Lap 171, they're going to come by the line. 5 laps to go this time by. Rudy's got just a little bit of breathing room as with that mistake that Roy made. Ramstein all over the back of him. Takes a look on the inside into 1, but nothing doing. He's just not close enough. Giving him just possibly a hello, I'm here, and I am still challenging for that second spot that you took away from me on that last restart. This time by lap 172 done. Now we're into lap 173. Maxim trying to find that way past. Roy Visser back up on the back of Rudy DeVitt. It is not over yet. Can Rudy hold on to it?
Dennis Garrison just made a maneuver for the 5th place position on Kun Girard, who's also being pressured by Mark Figueres. Almost made a look, almost had contact as well.
So things behind them could unfold, and we could have a yellow. Oh, and we've got lap traffic coming up. That's Vander Stickland on the outside. He's going to have to get out of the way in a hurry, and he actually slaps the wall. Rudy has to check up a little bit. So does Visser. But they all managed to get by, and now our leader have clear track, but Visser definitely lost a bit of time. Lap 174 done. We are getting very much with less and less opportunities, and look at Visser go high. Just absolutely trying to dive down to that turn, get as much speed as he can into that corner. Maxim tried to take a look, but he could not do anything. And this has allowed just a bit of breathing space for Rudy DeVitt. Now we are hitting lap 176. We're going to get the white flag next time by. Visser is too far back to do anything at this point unless we get a mistake from Rudy DeVitt. This could be exactly what he needed with that lapped car being the deciding factor in this race. Now heading through turns 3 and 4, Rudy DeVitt still has that breathing room. Maxim isn't close enough on Visser. DeVitt taking the white flag this time, I believe? No. There it is. Now we've got the white flag. Roy Visser definitely not close enough. Maxim definitely not close enough to him. It looks like Rudy DeVitt is going to be able to take the win. He's got 2 more corners to go. Slides it through them nice as you like. There's the checkered flag coming for Rudy DeVitt, our first 2-time winner in the series of the Piston Cup. Rudy DeVitt wins at Richmond. Roy Visser comes home in second. Maxim Ramstein takes third to complete the podium. An excellent race for these top 3.
Yeah, and there's also some contact that final lap between Dennis Garrison and Tim Vine. They slammed bumpers a little bit. Dennis Garrison lost the chance to make that maneuver for the 4th place position.
Great stuff from these guys. We are going to go to break as everybody has completed their way around. We're going to bring you the unofficial results, have some interviews. We'll be back in a moment, so stick around. Welcome back to Richmond International Raceway, and we just had a really good race here in round 6 of the Piston Cup. Fantastic finish, just great action all the way through. But when all was said and done around this 0.75 mile oval, Rudy DeVitt took win number 2 in the series, followed by Roy Visser in second. Maxim Ramstein challenged the whole way but finished third. Tim Wyan did a good job to finish fourth. Dennis Garrison finished fifth in the top 5. Koen Gerarts finished 6th. Mark Figueres finished 7th. Fabian de Jong was in 8th, our championship leader farther down, his first time out of the top 5. Joey Schmidt finished 9th. Denny Rotz took a top 10 in 10th. Jarno Panikiet's strategy did not work out how he wanted and finished 11th. Jeroen Ursum finished 12th. Timon de Boers 13th. Bob Van Ketwick 14th. Kim van der Sticklen in 15th. Pascal Dukers in 16th. Johan Summers in 17th. Steven van Helsdingen in 18th. Nick Thyssen 19th. Then in 20th, it's Richard Cortland. 21st was Robert de Roy. Nano van der Poel in 22nd. Neil Heckens in 23rd. 24th was Hank Ahrens, And then 25th was Jos van Hoorn, and Guy Schlackmulders did not start. So that was our finishing order. First up, we are going to talk to Maxim Ramstein. And let's see if we can pull him in here. Maxim, you've got a third place finish, but you were challenging in second and even led some of the race. Did you feel like you had more in store today? Are you feeling like you could have had that win? Maxim might not have his headset hooked up, unfortunately. Let's see if we can give him some time to hook it up and talk to him potentially here. Nothing yet from Maxim. Unfortunately, it looks like maybe he's not available to talk to. No? Maxim, do we have you?
Can you hear me?
There we go. Now we got you. Sorry about
That's
that.
better. That's better. Troubles. I never used TeamSpeak, so.
It's okay.
I could have won, obviously, but the last half of the race, I was just Rudy and Roy. They just had better pace than me. I didn't really have the grip to challenge them in the last part, so. Yeah, but in the first part, I was really comfortable. When nobody's in front of me, I can really get into some groove and go for it. Yeah.
Twice in the restarts towards the end of the race, you were overtaken from second by the car starting in third on the inside. Was it really a huge disadvantage starting on the outside row on the restarts?
Yeah, starting on the outside on this track is always difficult because the inside lane is so much faster. But I tried my best and unfortunately couldn't prevent being overtaken.
We haven't seen a whole lot of you in this series yet, but it seems like you're a very good contender for wins. How do you feel your chances are going to Pocono next time?
Well, I'm very new to ovals, so I've never raced at Pocono before, but I'll throw in a lot of practice and hope to be able to challenge top 5 or something.
All right. Well, we look forward to you up at the front once again. Thanks for talking to us.
Thanks for having me.
We also have with us Roy Visser, and I believe Ayrton is going to ask Roy a few questions.
Thanks, Joe. Roy, can you hear me?
Hi, guys.
Okay, well, congratulations on a second place finish. A very good run from you all race long. You did have an accident earlier, but managed to catch back up. What do you think did you think you would be able to make it back into the top 5 after your accident with Pascal Tugers?
I was running fast all weekend, and the guys at Nurtured really prepped the Mustang very good. And in combination with the virus setup, the car was really, really fast. And I thought I would come back. We had about 100 laps to go, so that's then the race is still open for me. So I clawed back and finally a podium. So I'm very happy.
Did you think you could have possibly gotten the win from Rudy DeVitt in those final few laps, or was it too much of a task?
I was more looking backwards to Maxime. He seemed to brake a little bit later into all the turns, so I had to manage his position a bit, and I might have been able to catch Rudy. He became a little bit slower at the end. His apex speed was a lot slower than mine, so it could have been if I wanted it, but I was very happy with second place, and I rather sacrificed second instead of losing everything. So second is very well for me. Very happy with it.
Yeah, as you should. And your teammate Dennis also did very well as well. So you guys are probably both happy with a good weekend. How do you think your chances are for Pocono next week?
Richmond is one of our favorite tracks. Dennis even more as mine, and Pocono I always loved, and Dennis is very good there as well. So hopefully I'll continue this streak. Pocono is very, very awesome. A lot different, but I like it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one as well. Well, congratulations once again. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Next up, we have our winner of this race, Rudy DeVitt. It took us 6 rounds to get a repeat winner, but we finally did it. And Rudy, you are the first person to take win number 2 this season. How's it feel?
Yeah, it is great. It wasn't an easy win this time. It was really, really hard because Maxime was really fast in the short run. And in the first long run, it took me 40 laps before I had a feeling that I could even match his pace. And it's my first oval win in this season, so it took longer than I may have expected, but they aren't easy to win, and so I'm really happy here. about this track as well.
Do you feel like your luck is maybe finally turning around a little bit now that you've got win number 2 under your belt?
I hope so. I know that the next 2 tracks are going to be quite challenging as well, but there will be a little bit more room there, so I hope to stay out of trouble there as well.
Well, you put it on pole and you brought it home in the same position. What were the tires like, though? Because we noticed that drivers who would put on fresh boots were kind of working their way up through the field, and guys who did not stop under caution tended to move backwards. Was it very tough to do a long run on these tires, or was it worth sticking out from time to time?
Our setup was actually made for the long run. It was a bit slow the first 10 to 20 laps, but after that it was really stable for the rest of the run. And that was giving us troubles at the beginning because the other cars were faster, and I could feel that they could come out of some of the turns a little bit quicker than I could. So later in the race I changed my tire pressures a little bit to get some extra speed on the short run, and together with lower fuel in the car, that really got my car going the way it needed to go. So I got a little lucky there.
Well, congratulations once again. Well done on a very hard-fought win, and we look forward to seeing you in Pocono. Thanks for talking to us.
Okay, thank you guys.
Ayrton, it's been a fantastic race. I'm glad I was able to hop in here and take over for this Easter weekend. And we're sorry that Richard couldn't be here. He missed a really good race, but it's been fun getting to call the ovals for once. Before we go, we want to thank a few people. Obviously, we want to thank the organizers of this league. That would be Jeroen Ursum and Jarno Panikiet, who helped put on the Piston Cup. Also, thanks to the software and hardware that we use to broadcast. That would be iRacing.com, XSplit, Twitch TV, Audio Technica, and AverMedia. Also, thanks to the team today, naturally, Ayrton and Giancarlo. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at www.globalsimracingchannel.com, along with archived races and race highlights. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at /Global Racing Channel. A special thank you goes out to Eric Ekholm, who provides us with much of our music. You can find it not only here on GSRC, but in TV commercials, movie trailers, iTunes, and Spotify. If you like our music, tell Eric where you heard it at ericekholm.com. Additional thanks go out to Casey Lalonde, who also provides us with music for our broadcasts. You can find more of his music at caseylalonde.bandcamp.com. As we mentioned, our next race is going to be at Pocono. That'll be Sunday, May 4th at 6:45 p.m. UTC. However, our next broadcasts are going to be Northwest Majors later today. Another oval race, that'll be Rockingham. And that'll take place at 1:30 a.m. UTC, a little later this evening for those of you in the States. Our next broadcast, or our next one after that, will be the Enduro Pro Series at Mosport, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, for those of you keeping track. That'll be Saturday, April 26th at 3:45 p.m. UTC. Then it's the Green Valley Lake MX5 World Tour. That'll be at Brands Hatch, Saturday, April 26th at 7 p.m. UTC. After that, we have the Gathering of Tweakers Sebring 185. That'll be Sunday, April 27th at 6:30 p.m. UTC. The Gathering of Tweakers always put on a fantastic race, and I can tell you that's going to be a thriller around there. Then, the Week 13 SRF Big Grid Race takes place. We do this every 4 times a year, basically, and this race is always a thriller. However, it'll be at Watkins Glen this time instead of Road America, so definitely don't miss this new venue for them. Sunday, April 27th at 9:30 p.m. UTC. Then, we have the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series picks up at Lime Rock Park. That little bull ring of a road course is going to put on a good show Saturday, May 17th at 10:30 p.m. UTC. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and I'll see you on the track.